Welcome back. You're listening to Protecting Your Family on Talk Radio 790 KABC. I'm your host, attorney Naz Barouti, joined by my lovely co-host, Kerri Kasem. And on the line, we have the amazing, legendary, outstanding attorney who I have the biggest crush on, attorney Mark Geragos. Hi, Mr. Geragos.
Well, Naz, that's very sweet of you. Thank you.
and, you know, I've seen you so many times at the CALA conventions in Vegas, but I've been too nervous to come up to you and say hi.
Well, all you have to do is offer to sit down at the blackjack table with me next time, and that's a perfect spot.
Okay, then that's a deal for next year.
And do you play poker?
I do.
Oh, there we go. Perfect match.
Well, Mr. Geragos, I mean, you've represented everyone and anyone that's big in Hollywood, but the reason I wanted to have you on the show today is more for everything that you've been doing as far as the Armenian Genocide is concerned and bringing attention to a part of history that goes unmentioned. And so if you could tell all of our listeners right now what the Armenian Genocide is and what you've been doing for the last, several decades and bringing attention to the issue.
Well, I'm glad you asked about that. I mean, the Armenian Genocide this year is the 100th year commemorating the Ottoman Turks' slaughter of 1.5 million Armenians, which was the first genocide of the 20th century, which was then mentioned by Hitler in Mein Kampf as part of his architecture for the Holocaust by saying, after all, who remembers the Armenians? And the Turks have been involved in a kind of a campaign of denial for 100 years, not recognizing it, even though we've got all kinds of historical documents. And so what we've done is filed a number of lawsuits, both against insurance companies and banks, in order to resolve insurance claims arising out of the genocide, which we've successfully done on 2 occasions. The banks were up in the Ninth Circuit. The government of Turkey, who were suing, were up in the Ninth Circuit. So it's kind of a full frontal attack using the court system to try to find redress for this.
So what do you think the reason is why Turkey will not just publicly apologize and just, that's what you're ultimately asking for? And I know there's only certain countries that actually publicly recognize the Armenian Genocide. The list that I have, why isn't the United States on here?
Well, back in the late 70s and early 80s, President Reagan was unafraid and declared it April 24th as a day of remembrance. Congress passed resolutions, I think in 76 and 80. And consequently, since then, what the Turks have done is basically hired lobbyists, paid tens of millions of dollars, and done everything and anything to try to stop recognition by the U.S. France recognizes the genocide. 43 states out of the 50 states recognize the genocide, but the U.S. government is paralyzed, and mostly it's because of the State Department and kind of what they claim is the pivotal role that Turkey plays in geopolitics, which is ironic because all you have to do is Google Turkey and ISIS, and you'll see that the whole ISIS issue has been created and fomented and enabled by Turkey.
Yes. I feel like the country of Turkey has tried to remove itself from any ties with the Middle East. They consider themselves more European than Middle Eastern. And it seems that, like you said, if you just Google it, there is a strong tie with ISIS and terrorism and just the way that they even treat their own people. It's not what we call giving people freedoms. And we're going to have the United States kind of almost support them.
Yeah, and that's what's so disconcerting about all of it. And you'll notice that in the last couple of weeks, both John Kerry had to walk back comments he made when he recognized this. Joe Biden had to walk back comments he made when he recognized this. I mean, Turkey is really no friend of the U.S., and they have used kind of their strategic position to their benefit. And frankly, it puts us as Americans in a morally bankrupt position where we kind of kowtow to Turkey, turn our backs on what is a legitimate genocide. And I don't think Turkey wants to deal with it because I think they're afraid of the reparations. And so I guess it's a financial issue at best, although I don't think that that's an excuse or should be an excuse for not recognizing history or rewriting history.
I mean, yeah, it's outrageous to think that we're just going to turn our backs in a part of history where 1.5 million Armenians died. It's pretty disgusting if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's a phenomenally bankrupt, and I'll use that again, position. Those of us who had grandparents who fled the genocide and heard the stories, and I will tell you, in the insurance litigation that we did, there were all real-time documents that came out in discovery that showed the U.S. ambassador at the time, Morgenthau, was sending cables to the U.S. describing what was happening. This is before 1915 and 1923, is before the term genocide was coined by Raphael Lemkin, but it was clearly at the time that it was characterized by those who were there, independent observers, as the mass extermination of a race. And it is a genocide. It was a genocide, and I think that we should have the moral calculus and the ability, unfettered by pseudo-strategic reasons, to call it just that.
And here's the thing with East Timor, Rwanda, all these places that had genocide and horrific war crimes, where we didn't get involved unless there was something there for us to get involved with. In this case, it's, well, we have our troops stationed there. We have something to gain from them. We don't want to upset, like you said, the politics there. When do you think the United States is going to come forward and say, hey, okay, we see this. We've got to do something about it, like you suing them for the money that is so desperately needed by the families that were killed there.
Right, exactly. I mean, the presidential palace is sitting on lands that were appropriated from Armenians. One of their military bases is on land that was misappropriated from the Armenians. I have countless deeds of properties that are in Turkey. They're bulldozing churches, and the Armenian churches are converting them to mosques and things of that nature. And there really is a continuing crime and a continuing cover-up. And they're never going to, I think, be able to face a world or be accepted into the world community in open arms until they recognize this. I just think it's a despicable kind of attack that they're taking. And this year, as the 100th year commemoration of it, we're doing everything possible to bring it to the attention of the American public.
And this has been Kerri Kasem. I don't know if you can
differentiate
our voices, but I know that you just have a few more minutes with us, and I just wanted to ask you about your career, changing it up a bit. I know that you have represented Winona Ryder, Michael Jackson, Nicole Richie, Chris Brown, Nate Dogg, Sean Diddy Combs. You have just a list of celebrities. I wanted to know if there's anybody who's come to you where you felt that they have done something so bad you did not want to take them on.
I don't know that if they've done something so bad that I wouldn't take them on, but I've gotten to the point in my career where if I don't like the client, I admit, and I probably shouldn't, but I will admit to you two that if I don't like them and they rub me the wrong way, I generally will not take the case.
Is that because you think if they rub you the wrong way, they're going to rub the jury the wrong way and not win it?
I think there's something to that, and I think it's also because life's too short to have to endure somebody who aggravates me.
I agree.
Well, I love that mentality, and I'm slowly starting to adopt that policy.
You need to adopt. Naz, you've got to adopt that.
I'm telling you, it's a great practice tip.
Oh, because, I get a lot of interesting calls from fans, I guess you could put in air quotes, from the radio show. So getting to see them one-on-one is really interesting, I have to say. Well, thank you, Mr. Geragos, for your time.
Thank you.
And
anytime.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
We'd love to have you down here in the studio. It'd be great.
Next time I will come down there and do it in person.
Great.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. If you're just tuning in, we just had attorney Mark Geragos, who's represented countless celebrities and who is a fighter in getting the word out about the Armenian genocide. And wow, I really like him.
I know you have a crush.
Yes, I do.
I know you do.
Okay. You're listening to Talk Radio 790 KABC. When we come back, we're going to tell you why your security system in your home is not really going to protect you. We'll be right back.
I'm crazy, 'cause you don't